Yo, what's good? What's good? What's good? It's your favorite teacher, Mr. Williams, and we are going to get into our genetics notes for today. All right, so make sure you grab a pencil, grab a sheet of paper. You're gonna write this down in your notebook. All right, you're gonna write this down in your notebook. When you're done, you're gonna snap a picture. You're gonna upload it for me so I can see that you took these notes. All right, so let's get into it. All right, so genetics notes. Who is Gregor Mendel? Gregor Mendel was a Austrian monk. All right, he was an Austrian monk who really, really loved plants. He loved plants, and he loved trying to figure out why plants look different from generation to generation, or why they look the same from generation to generation. All right. So Gregor Mendel he developed a principle called the principle of independent assortment. All right. And the principle of independent assortment is that inheritance of one trait has no effect on the inheritance of another trait. So what does that mean? What it means is that I may inherit one trait from my father, like height, but that doesn't mean I'm gonna necessarily inherit all of his traits. Just because I inherit one trait from my father doesn't mean I'm gonna inherit all of his traits. So I might have his height, but I might not have his hair color. All right, so this is the principle of independent assortment. Inheritance of one trait has no effect on the inheritance of another trait. Gregor Mendel is known as the father of genetics. He figured out a lot of the concepts that we use today in genetics. Obviously, he wasn't aware of anything like DNA or chromosomes or genes or anything like that. He didn't know about those things. But the concepts that he came up with still apply today. Okay. So, traits. Let's get into traits. What is a trait? All right. Well, first, we need to understand that traits are a part of genetics, and genetics study how traits are passed from one parent to offspring, from parent to offspring. So, genetics is a study of how traits are passed from parent to offspring. So, how you look the way you look, why your hair is how it is, etc. All these are traits, all right, and you got them from your parents. So, some examples of some traits are this tongue here. Some people have this ability to curl their tongue, others do not. All right, that is a genetic trait. Another trait is dimples. All right, dimples. I have dimples. See my dimples? Those are traits passed from your parents. All right. Cleft chin. All right, some people have a little dimple or cleft in their chin. That is also a trait. And then we have curly hair. These are all examples of traits, and these are traits that you got from your parents and your parents' parents and your parents' parents' parents. Okay, traits are determined by the genes on chromosomes. So traits are determined by genes on chromosomes, and a gene is a segment of DNA that determines a trait. So as you can see here, this is a chromosome. This is where all your genes are located. But genes um, are just a segment of an entire strand of DNA. Okay, and as you know, DNA is in every single one of your cells, and your cells make up tissues, and your tissues make up your body. All right, so you have DNA inside of a cell, inside of your tissues, which make up your body. All right, so you have chromosomes, DNA, cells, tissues, and then your body. The body is always copying DNA and making new cells, always. All right. So your old cells are dying, and your new cells are regenerating, and they have genes in them. They're all made up, they have genes and DNA in them. All right. The DNA provides your cells the instructions about what they are going to do. Okay. Chromosomes come in homologous pairs. Thus, genes come in homologous pairs. Okay. So once again, chromosomes come in homologous pairs. Thus, genes come in homologous pairs. And homologous pairs are matching genes. You get one from your female parent and one from your male parent. All right. So an example is humans have 46 chromosomes or 23 pairs. One set comes from your father, your dad, 23 in a sperm cell, and then one set comes from your mom, 23 in an egg cell. Okay. All right. So one pair of homologous chromosomes, as you can see here, would be the gene for eye color or blue eyes. And here you have a gene from eye color for brown eyes. So one from your mother or father, and one from um, your mother, your parents. So your parents are going to give you a homologous pair of chromosomes. Okay, and we have a term called alleles. And alleles are different genes or possibilities for the same traits. All right. So alleles are different genes or possibility for the same traits. All right. So your alleles make up your genes, and your alleles are the unique code for a specific trait like skin color or hair texture or your potential for height, etc. These are determined by alleles. All right. So, for example, blue eyes or brown eyes are determined by an allele. So, this here would be an allele. These are alleles. All right, so we have a concept called dominant and recessive genes. All right, a dominant gene is a gene that prevents the other gene from showing. If a gene prevents another gene from showing, that gene is dominant. A gene that does not show, even though it is present, is recessive. And you need to pay attention to this because dominant genes are always represented by an uppercase letter. All right. Dominant genes are always represented by an uppercase letter, and recessive genes are always represented by a lowercase letter. All right. So as you can see here, the dominant color of these puppies is black. Two of them are black, but one of them is white or pink because the dominant color here in this puppy is black, while the recessive color is pink or white. All right. So, an example a straight thumb is dominant to the hitchhiker thumb. So, here I think I have a straight thumb. I think my thumb is pretty straight, right? Or do I have, yeah, my thumb is pretty straight. So, the straight thumb is dominant to the hitchhiker thumb. All right. So, as you can see, the straight thumb gets a big T, while the hitchhiker's thumb gets a little t. All right. Always use the same letter for the alleles. Always use the same letter for the same alleles. All right. So you're not going to have an S for straight and an H for hitchhikers. You're going to have a straight thumb is T, T, T. So you can see it's dominant. And then there's also a heterozygous dominance, which shows that they do have a recessive trait for the hitchhiker's thumb, though the dominant is showing. All right. And the hitchhiker's thumb is small t. So a person with a straight thumb can either have two tall t's, two uppercase t's, or a heterozygous tall t and a lower t. But the hitchhiker's thumb is going to be represented by the two small t's. You must have two recessive alleles for the trait to show. There must be two recessive alleles for the trait to show. All right. So in order for this trait here to show, the hitchhiker's thumb to show, you must have two of the small t's. If you have two big t's and a big T and a small t, it's gonna represent as a regular straight thumb because straight thumb is dominant. All right. So here we have a black puppy and a white puppy. All right. So the black is dominant, as you can see, is represented by two large B's. But here we have a black puppy with a white gene. So even though this puppy is showing that it's black, it has the white gene in it. So it can actually pass on the white color to its offspring. Now here we have the white puppy. The white puppy has the recessive gene for white. So it's represented by two small b's, and therefore it's white. All right. So both genes of a pair are the same, homozygous or purebred. Okay, so homozygous is equal to purebred. Okay, homozygous are purebred. So if both genes of a pair are the same, it is considered homozygous or purebred. So for example, TT is homozygous dominance. And then we have homozygous recessive. All right, so it's represented by two small t's. This is homozygous recessive. One dominant and one recessive gene now is considered heterozygous or hybrid. All right, and a hybrid is always represented by a tall t and a small t. This is considered heterozygous. So this is when an organism has one dominant and one recessive gene. So this is considered heterozygous. You have a tall t and a small t. So this is considered heterozygous or hybrid. All right, so next up we have genotype and phenotype. A combination of genes an organism has is its genotype. So the genes that make up an organism is considered the genotype. The genes that make up an organism is considered the genotype. Okay? Once again, the genes that make up the organism is considered the genotype. Now, the actual physical appearance, what it actually looks like as a result of the genes, is considered the phenotype. So, for example, these letters TT, big T, small t. So, T dominant, T heterozygous dominant, and recessive. This is the genotype. These are the actual genes that make up the organism. But the way it actually looks is the phenotype. All right, we consider that the phenotype, the physical appearance. So the hitchhiker's thumb versus the straight thumb. This is the phenotype of a given organism. Okay, so I think that's enough for today. Um, Make sure you write that down and that you uh, post your notes to Schoology so that I can see them and make sure that you took notes. All right. All right, I'm sweating out here. It's hot. Hope you guys got that. If you have any questions, um, feel free to send me a message on Schoology, and I'll get back to you. All right. See you guys later. Talk to you later. Peace.